Hey guys, we're in day 3 of Everyday Faith, and let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We're in Luke chapter 5, verse 26. It says this: Luke wrote, "Everyone was gripped with great wonder and awe, and they praised God, exclaiming, 'We have seen amazing things today.'" I love this. It's the context, if you didn't look it up, is around some miracles that Jesus had performed. And so everyone was gripped with great wonder and awe. They were astonished at what God had just done, or what Jesus had just done. And then the devotional goes on to say this: when you experience or see God's wonders at work, you cannot help but be moved by them. It's an exhilarating feeling that captures the attention of all who witness it. Part of God's intent in performing miracles and doing the impossible is so that we can proclaim His goodness with the world around us. As we share this good news, people from all over the world will know that there is a God who loves them and is capable of working on their behalves. But sometimes we forget this. Whether it's due to fear, insecurity, busyness, or just our day-to-day routine, we tend to forget about the glorious works God has done and the miracles that have caused us to stand in awe of Him. That's why it's so important that we remind ourselves of what we've seen and experienced, and that we share it publicly so others may experience it firsthand for themselves as well. I love this devotion, and I love this challenge. Because it's important. I think one of the things about Christmas, right, is that we sit here and we do the gifts and we have the trees and the ornaments and all of that stuff. But it's easy. It's an easy time to proclaim the goodness of God. And I'll share kind of like one just quick example of something that we do, a tradition in our house, and maybe some of you guys do the same thing. But every year we pick out 1 or 2 ornaments that we're going to hang on a tree, new ornaments, and they represent our year, and they represent what God has done and the significance of God working. And so we have different ornaments. Let's see if I can find one. Okay, so like right here, for instance, like a little church, and we have this ornament, but it tells the story of how God rescued us and God provided for us and made the way. If you don't know, my wife and I have started a church here in New York. And so how God has kind of come through and His provision to make it possible for us to begin planting this church here in New York City. And we sit back, and when we look at our tree, and every year as we're putting these ornaments, it reminds us of what God has done. But it would be foolish or silly of us to keep that to ourselves, because there's a whole world out there looking. They're desperate to know if God, if anyone, but if God sees them and hears them and can provide for them. And so we, of course, as we've started this church, we've shared this story, we've proclaimed it, we've posted on social media. People who know us know that this is what we're doing. But what's been really cool to us is to see how other people who are watching from New York, from other parts of the country, from even around the world, are tuning in to see what God does through our church. And it's really exciting. But what's cool is because we're proclaiming God's goodness and we're proclaiming the miracles that God is doing. It's not just that they're watching us, but then in response they're saying, well, if God did that for them, what can He do for me? And so there's massive significance. And maybe you're not starting a church. If you are, awesome, that's incredible. But if you're not, that's okay, because God is still at work in your life. And the work that God is doing, the miracles that God's providing, the way that He's answering, all of those things point to a glorious God that wants to do the same for someone else. And so when you share that, when you proclaim that, just like the writer Luke said, they praised God, exclaiming, "We have seen amazing things today." So when you share those amazing things, other people will be astonished, they'll be in awe, and they will wonder about what God can do for them as well.